All right, in this video, we're talking about learning how to learn a language. Why? Because there may be a way that's more natural and more effective than what we're already used to. We read a lot of studies, talked to a bunch of smart people, read articles online, saw how people learn, participated in language courses at high school or at university, been on student exchange, participated in an international student program. And I think the following concepts are pretty useful here. Our method is so new that we needed to give a little bit of theoretical background to explain where we're coming from and why we think that what we want to do will work. And there is evidence that even knowing about these concepts can already improve your language learning. We're talking about 4 things here. Informal versus formal learning, spaced repetition, which makes practicing much more effective, self-regulated learning, and finally, scaffolding. It's a concept on how to start. More information in the description section. We have links to all the resources, to videos, to stuff that we found useful and that we are referring to in this video. We all know formal learning from school. You have a teacher who sets the pace, who keeps everything together and tells you what to do and instructs you. Informal learning is what you've been doing as a kid. You play around, you talk to people, you imitate what others do, and it's a more playful, indirect way of learning. A researcher called Stephen Krasson already talked about this in the 1980s. He wrote that both elements actually teach several aspects of language learning. So integrating the two can be probably the most effective way to learn a language. Now, when we take the informal learning, we may learn a lot of new content by talking to people, but the problem is how to remember this. And here we have a concept that can help you practice effectively. This is called spaced repetition. A review of 184 articles with lots of experiments in there has shown that spaced repetition is much more effective than massed learning or massed repetition. You may know this for studying a few days before a test very much, where you're training a strong memory now for a weak memory later. We read through a long blog post article, which is actually referring to hundreds of articles about this concept, and it really shows that this is effective. How does it work? You have the forgetting curve, which basically means you're in a bar talking to someone, you learn a new word, but within 1 minute you may have already forgotten it. So it's very steeply going down. So after only 20 minutes, you have maybe lost most of the memory. After 1 day, it's very hard to remember the concepts. What can we do? We can practice this. And every time we practice, the forgetting curve becomes a little bit less steep. So we remember more after the same time. And we can work with this. So computer programs use something called spaced repetition, where we optimize the intervals between practicing. Now, how can an app help you here? Well, first of all, we don't allow you to mass practice. After you have pressed a thumb up, you have to wait for at least 1 day until you can practice again. The app takes care of all your phrases on deciding when to practice next, so it makes it available when it's time to practice again. In an environment without a teacher, you yourself need to sit down and make a plan and decide how to structure your learning. Self-regulation is an essential skill, however, for lifelong learning and therefore also fitting our time of free information and learning. According to a definition by Pintrich from the year 2000, self-regulated learning is, quote, an active, constructive process whereby learners set goals and then attempt to monitor, regulate and control their cognition, motivation and behavior, end quote. Research suggests that students' behavior with self-directed learning depends on 3 processes: self-observation, self-judgment, and self-reactions. The final concept is scaffolding, and this means that you take things step by step. A scaffold looks like this. It is what you use to construct a building. It's normally what a teacher or a course book does for you. It splits up this immense task of learning a language into steps and lectures and topics, one by one. When you're doing self-directed learning, you are kind of responsible for this yourself. And scaffolding can here mean that you say, I will meet for 10 times with a partner and we meet twice a week for 5 weeks and then I'll look back. All right, so this was for informal versus formal learning, spaced repetition, self-regulated learning and scaffolding as an introduction of tools that can help you learn a language. If you have some thoughts or you want to participate in our tandems or just stay in touch, let us know via Instagram, Facebook or whatever platform you like. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it, and let's stay in touch. And to all language learners out there, you're not alone.